So welcome to today's video. Today I want to show you the Saemiart 50 pan or 50 color set. I know I've mentioned this watercolors a lot because I want to use up the set here and I use it a lot in adult coloring, so maybe you have heard about it already. The set contained a normal flat brush and I think it was a water brush. I just put them out. Which is neat is that they contain a swatch card where you can swatch all the colors. I always like when brands do that. As you can see, I've already used a lot of the colors. Some are really dented massively already. So I think I can give a good review of this colors because like I said, I've used it a lot. It is one set of a category I call for myself cheap watercolors. You may have heard of student grade and artist grade. That is the mid-range and the high quality range of watercolors. And what I call cheap is the category with the low quality. That is not an official wording like a student or artist grade. It is just something I use for myself so that I can separate those from student and artist grade range. So the first color here they call yellow ochre. I will only tell you the names of the colors because like with other cheap brands, we don't have any pigment information, mainly because most of those aren't pigment-based watercolors, they are dye-based. I will tell a little bit more about dye-based and pigment-based later on. And we don't get any information about light fastness as well. So this color here is called yellow-gray. And I know that a lot of channels are reviewing products like this and saying they are really great in quality and can recommend them. And I know that especially here the Saemiart watercolors were a few years prior very hyped on YouTube, and was also the reason why I've bought them. And first I've bought a set which looked exactly like them, but was from another company which wanted to imitate them and what was even lower in quality. So that is something to be aware of. This is a highly often copied product, so you will have to look if it's really Saemiart or not. But for me personally, all the watercolor sets I have, which fall in this cheap category with the lowest quality, I don't recommend buying one of those sets, to be honest. Because yes, of course, they say you can get like here 50 different colors for, I don't know what's in other countries, but here in Germany, that's around 20 to 25 euros. It sounds interesting because especially as a beginner, a lot of beginners are afraid of mixing their own colors and they think buying a set with a lot of colors helps them that way. And that is firstly, of course, totally wrong because I recommend to start with 12 or 24 max because it is super important that you learn mixing colors, in my opinion. That is a first point. But the second point is that you can get cheaper colors. I mean that the price is cheaper than you would pay, for example, for this set, but with a much higher quality. For example, like I said, it costs around 20 to 25 euros, and I can get in Germany when I want to buy a pen set, the cheapest artist grade I know in Germany. Of course, depending on where you live, prices differs. Is the Ukrainian company Rosa Gallery, which I can recommend very much. I love them. Um, and I can buy sets for the same price, but in artist grade. Of course, I won't have 50 different colors, but I have maybe more milliliters in color than I have in this set, because they come in full pen sets, and these aren't even half pens. They look like half pens, but they are smaller. So that is something I personally think, why should I pay more for less color and more for a lower quality if I can have artist grade for at least the same amount of money? It doesn't make any sense to buy lowest quality watercolors if I can have, for the same money, highest grade watercolors. I don't know what you think about it, but for me, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter for what you are using your watercolors. If it just is for uh, simply some kind of simply sketching stuff, or for hand lettering, or for adult coloring, or for traditional kind of watercolor drawings, why should you buy lower quality for the same or more money? It doesn't make any sense. So the third color they call here is burnt umber. It doesn't look anything at all like a burnt umber. It looks like a burnt sienna maybe, but not like a burnt umber. That is something I also find a lot in those cheap sets, that the naming of the colors are very much confusing because they don't match their name siblings in artist grade ranges or student grade ranges with the color. They look often completely different, and that is something what I think can be very much confusing for um, beginners. Yeah, when you have absolutely no clue about how the color should look like, and then you are watching, for example, some kind of draw along color tutorial or what else, and they show you something and name you, for example, burnt umber and stuff like that, and you think, oh yeah, I have those colors in my cheap set here as well, and then you try to replicate it and you won't be able to get to the same results because the colors don't match, the quality don't match. You have a lot of white and fillers and cheap colors like this, and you won't be able to get the same results. So that can be super frustrating, and I know a lot of people started with cheap colors like that, which were utterly frustrated and thought, oh man, I'm just too dumb. I cannot do it. I quit watercolor completely. And this this category of colors can give you so much frustration, and you don't have to do that to yourself. Start with good quality products. You can also get good quality products for a low price if you have a tight budget. I will make definitely a video about my personal recommendations for starting out with watercolors, especially if you are on a budget, where I include all the cheapest versions of student and artist grade with, in my opinion, the highest quality you can get for the low pricing. But I won't recommend ever buying sets like that. I'm not sponsored because I'm just too small for any sponsoring. So all the products I review on my channel to this point are paid by my own money. And for me personally, it is more important that I give you my honest opinion of a product. I won't ever recommend buying something I'm not completely behind the product that I say, yes, it's a great product, a great quality, and I totally can recommend it. If I recommend something on my channel, it is always something I would buy for myself again, because I liked working with the product, the quality is good, and yeah, I would never recommend something I think is bad or too low in quality. So, okay, the fourth color on the first row is called raw umber. Also doesn't look like a raw umber, looks more like a burnt umber to me. And also the red ochre here hasn't any similarities to a real earthy red ochre you will find in student and artist grade range. Yeah, the next two colors look, the brown and the Van Dyke brown look very much like the raw umber prior. It's more all in the range of burnt umbers, and that is also a thing that I say, yeah, it says 50 pan set, you get 50 pans, but you don't get 50 different colors, because alone here in the first row we have 3 browns which are nearly identical. And to be honest, the range of earthy colors of all the earth colors, the browns, is the biggest color group you can find. When you look at, for example, the dot card from Daniel Smith, you have, I don't know, like 20 or 25 alone different ochres, which are also looking different. Yeah, and here you have 3 browns, which are nearly identical. That is a total waste, in my opinion. You could have done something like a real Van Dyke brown or a sepia kind of brown, which is a very, very dark brown, for example. Um, that is, I just think it's a waste here of space to include 3 times the same or nearly the same color. And then we have the gray, we have the Payne's gray, which doesn't look like a Payne's gray, and we have a black. So in the next row, you will see that are sometimes I've done these black stripes where I knew the color contains a lot of white or fillers and is very opaque. I have sadly some colors I've missed. I will mention that where they still contain a lot of white. Sorry, but the first one is called Pink Lilac, the second is called Purple, and the third is called Pale Purple. And alone the pale purple here, it doesn't look like a purple, it's more like on the pinkish side, so the wording again isn't very very useful. And I said that there's a difference in dye and pigment-based watercolors. High quality paints, like good quality student paints or artist grained watercolor paints, are pigment based. And yes, there are pigments which aren't light fast, but most of the pigments that are used are light fast. And that is the first big difference to dye based, because dye based paints aren't light fast ever. They will always fade or change their color. And of course, you could say I will buy an UV glass frame where we don't have the, oh, sorry, I will have to drink something. Just a moment. So, very sorry. Where you can filter the UV and it isn't that exposed, and therefore it won't fade that fast. But, and that is the very difference to non-light fast pigments to dye-based paints. Dye also reacts to oxygen, and you can't vacuum made those paintings very well. So they always will fade and differ even under a UV protected glass. So especially here the purple, it's the second color in the second row. It looks here like a purple, but on my swatch card in the box, it looks more like a pink, because whatever kind of blue dye they used in here, it faded even in darkness very, very fast. So that is something. Also, dye-based are different to pigment-based. that is definitely something to be aware of, and that is also the reason why I think paints like that aren't really good for artwork which you want to last over years or decades even. Um, I try to use mine up now in adult coloring books. I only use them as a base layer so that I don't have to work as hard with colored pencils. And I think for that it is okay. I wouldn't buy it anymore a second time, but I try to use up my stock. And um, yeah, uh, if you already have colors like that, then that could be a way to use them up. But I wouldn't recommend buying them for any reason. So um, I'm from a part in Germany, or born and raised, better said, called Swabia, and people from that area are known to be um, oh, um, stingy with money, or try to get always the the, um, the highest amount out of anything. So it is worth the money. So I'm not a fan of throwing away paints, even if they are that low in quality like some of those. But I think there are ways to use them up at least. You could you gift them to your kids or the neighbor's kids, or a niece or a nephew, or so. For example, you could use them like I do in adult coloring as a base layer, that is, or for easy card making, where you don't need the picture to last very long, and you don't need to layer, for easy hand lettering, or even for a little bit of training. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend buy them for those reasons, but if you already have colors like that, then that can be ways to use them up, or give them to a kindergarten, or a preschool or something like that. They, at least here in Germany, often color with any kind of watercolors with the kids. So that could be also a way that at least the colors will be used. Um, I have a lot of those colors, and I gave some to the kids, but my kids, but they can't use up all of them, because they don't. They color more with colored pencil at the moment, and yeah, that's why for a very long time those sets were in my my collection, and I didn't use them. And only when I restarted with adult coloring, I thought, okay, I could use them as a base layer. So at least I can use them. But like I said, I wouldn't buy them again. So I try to use up my stock of those cheap, low quality paints. And when I've used them up, I will never buy something like that again. So that's the reason why I don't recommend buying them at all if you already haven't uh, bought one of those colors. So after the pale purple, the fourth color in this row is called dark purple. I would say it is more like a purple. It's not very dark. A dioxazine violet is something I call a dark purple, but okay. The next is called lilac, and then we have two colors which are nearly identical again. The first they call skin color, and the second they call cinnamon, which doesn't have any similarity to cinnamon powder at all. And I know that calling this kind of color skin color is also not optimum, because we have a lot of different skin colors in this world, and not all of them are that what you would compare with white people. Um, so it is not really political correct to call it skin color, because those dark browns can also be skin color, for example. No, that's, yeah. I think that's better in those artist and student grade ranges where colors like that are called, for example, Jean Brilliant, Brilliant number 2 from Shinhan PwC, or Holbein, which I use as my most used skin color because I color a lot of anime styled stuff. And I'm not very good at coloring darker skin tones. That is something I try to teach myself, but I'm not very good at that point. But yeah, I hope I will be better at someday, at least. So then we have something called pink, which contains a lot of white as well. And the next one is called rose powder. And that is one of the colors. I forgot the black stripe. This is also a color with a lot of white in it. The next or the last, better said, here is called raw ochre. And then third row, we start with a color called dark green, which is very much like what it is. This is a very dark green, which is nice to have dark colors in sets like that, because often greens and reds and stuff, you don't get a lot of dark colors here. So at least we have one dark green. Then we have a dark turquoise, which is a very beautiful color. I think it looks a lot like when you're mixing like phthalo blue and phthalo green, or phthalo green and an ultramarine blue kind of turquoise. I like those turquoises a lot. The next is called lake blue. Reminds me a lot of horizon blue from Asian high quality watercolor brands. Then something like called cobalt blue, which I'm swatching now, of course. It doesn't contain pigments, so it doesn't contain cobalt. It is also something I think is very much a problem when you are just starting out, because if you don't know anything about watercolors, about pigments, about dye-based colors, then you are just going by the names. And when someone is doing a tutorial and is using cobalt blue, and then you have a set like this and you're using your version of cobalt blue, which isn't pigment based, it isn't a cobalt blue, you won't get the same results, and this can frustrate a lot. And I know a lot of people started with sets like that, and then were super frustrated because they couldn't get the same results, because you can't do some techniques with colors like that because you can't layer them as well as you can pigment-based. If you are using too much water, you will automatically, damn it, I don't know how to say this in English. You reactivate the layer beneath the prior layer, and then either you get white ugly splotches on your paper, or you get a really muddy result because all of the colors now are mixing together. And it looks, of course, different if you layer two different colors over each other, or if you're mixing them. That gives a different result. So yeah, that is also something not very, very helpful and can easily frustrate. And I know a lot of people stopped working very shortly after starting with watercolors because they've used a set like that, and it didn't work very well. And yeah, people said they are feeling too dumb to use them. And yeah, it is just an unnecessary frustration for you. And that is something that can be very, very easily avoided just with a little bit better quality paints. It doesn't have to be an artist grade paints. There are a lot of super great student grade paints as well. And yeah, unnecessary frustration. I think especially watercolors are hard to learn media because of its nature, that some pigments or colors are wandering a lot over the paper. It is often hardly able to be controlled, or you need a lot of experience to really can control it better. And things like that only makes it even harder to learn, and gives you more frustration. And yeah, like I said, it is unnecessary to give you that kind of frustration just because of the low quality of paints. So we have then a sky blue, which looks like your typical phthalo blue white mix, which you will also find in student grade sets as a cheaper alternative to cerulean blues. And then you have a color they call peacock blue. And then you have a color they called Prussian blue, which doesn't look at all like a Prussian blue, but it is very similar to the peacock blue. This I swatched just now is called indigo. At least this is a very nice dark blue. From the color hue, I think it's a little bit more like an indanthrene blue than indigo, but it is a nice dark blue. And then we come to the ultramarine, or at least what they call ultramarine, because it looks just like a third version of phthalo blue. So we have the peacock blue, the not Prussian blue, and the not ultramarine blue, which are very, very similar and are like different shades of phthalo blue. So we have here the same problem which we have with the browns. We have three blues which are too close to each other, don't have anything to do with the colors. They are called like the Prussian and the blue and the ultramarine. So yeah, that is also. Now we have the two cinnamon skin color, which are too similar. We have the three browns. We have here the three blues, and you get me when I say you have 50 pens, but not 50 colors, because some of the colors are way too similar to each other, and that is yeah, just a false impression you get when you're reading 50 pens. Then you have, of course, the impression you get 50 different colors, but you don't. And I think there are so many different kind of blues. Why do we have to have here so many similar to each other? I mean, also the sky blue, it is just one of those phthalo blue versions with a white. We have a white. We have three of those phthalo blues, so that is also a redundant color, to be honest, because you could easily mix this with the white and the Prussian blue here, or the white and the peacock blue, or the white and the ultramarine. So that's even more unnecessary color versions. So the last one, and I have absolutely no clue why they called it that. It is called Brilliant Green Purple. I don't know where the green comes from. I mean, it's a beautiful lavender kind of color. It's also one of those which contains a lot of white, where I forgot the black stripe. But here I think it is not that problematic with the white, because even in artist grade watercolors, the lavender usually is a mixture between violet or blue and other pigments, and always a white in it. So that are always very opaque colors, even in artist grade. So the next row we have started. The first is Crimson Lake. It's a nice, cool red. And the next is dark red, which is also like the dark green for me personally. A little bit positive in the whole setting here, because it's a very, very dark red, and that is something you rarely find in those very low quality cheap sets. Mostly the dark reds are more like the Crimson Lake here, the first one, not as dark as the other one. So the next one they call light green, and it is yeah, kind of mint kind of color. I know that color from a lot of Asian brands, because it's a color which has a deep strong place in traditional Asian art, like traditional Japanese or Chinese art, for example. That's also why you find those kind of colors in a lot of Asian brands, like Micello Mission Gold, Holbein, or Shinhan. or also other kind of watercolors like Kuretake Gansai Tambis, for example. Often they call it cobalt green, which is also very confusing because it doesn't have anything to do with a real cobalt green. But yeah, this is a very traditional color we know from a lot of brands. So the color I'm swatching now is called permanent green, and it's a very yellowish kind of green. Sorry. And the color next is called yellow green, and it is more like yeah, like a green gold kind of color, because it's more like a yellow with a lot tending more to a green. When you are watering down colors like that, you more get a normal yellow, and in mast-tone you will see the greenish hue in it. Yeah, that is something that reminds me of a PY 129. I mean, that is not a transparent color here, and it is, of course, not even close in actual color to the PY 129, but it reminds me because this is a pigment which is greenish in mast tone, green gold, green yellowish, but if you water it down, it really gets a nice, vibrant yellow, and it is a color which I started only recently discover for myself to use it more, and which is very versatile and very great color to have. So this color here they call light yellow olive green, and at least it is a little bit more on the natural greenish side. The next green they call sap green, which is more like, I would say, a permanent green, you know, from some brands. It doesn't have anything to do with anything close to sap green, at least from the sap greens I am working with, I like, and what I understand as sap green. Like I said, it's more like a permanent green. The next color they call phthalo green, and at least that one is accurate in their hue. It looks like a phthalo green, and I know a lot of people don't like phthalo green because it looks very, very artificial, but it is a single pigment green, and we don't have a lot of single pigment greens. Most greens you can buy are convenient mixes, and that's the reason why I think it is a super high tinting strength pigment. And oh no, of course, this one here isn't a pigment based, don't forget, but the real deal. And it is a transparent green as well. And we don't have a lot of transparent single pigment greens. So it is a perfect mixing green, in my opinion. If you use real phthalo green with browns like burnt sienna or burnt umber, you can get a very beautiful olivey, natural looking kind of greens, or even with mixing it with some oranges. I can really recommend it. It's a very easy way to get good looking, natural looking greens. And yeah, also light fast ones as well. That's also important because in a lot of convenience mixes are pigments which maybe aren't that good in light fastness, at least in the green part. So they call this color here Viridian. It has absolutely nothing to do with a real Viridian. The color don't match. The color is way too dark for a real Viridian. And of course, a real Viridian also granulates, which we never will find any color granulating with dye-based watercolors because they just don't. And that is something I think is also a big, big negative point with dye-based watercolors, because to be honest, I am a super big, huge fan of granulation and of super granulating colors with this color separating effects. I know not everyone loves granulation, but it is something that is totally unique to watercolors, because you won't find any other art media which can do granulation. And that is something I think, why should I use dye-based watercolors without any kind of granulation? Just makes no sense to me. I know there are people who don't like granulation and they probably see that as a plus point, but even with that, all the other points are too much negatively that I would recommend it. There are enough non-granulating watercolors, so you don't need to buy a dye-based watercolor to get a non-granulating one if you really want to. Even colors like an ultramarine blue, you can buy the ultramarine finest from Schminke, which you won't find granulating much. It is so subtle that you don't really see it. So there are ways, at least, to go around something like that if you really don't like it. But maybe if you don't like it, try work a little bit more with it. I didn't like it in the beginning when I started with watercolors, but I loved it over time. And yeah, I'm now working with watercolors since around 28 years, and I am a huge, huge fan of granulation. So the last green on the upper row is probably the one I use the most. It is called olive green, and it looks very olive greeny here, but if you water it down more, like I did here, it gets more to this sap green greens with a lot more yellowish glow in it. And this is why I use this green a lot as a base layer in my adult coloring books for any kind of grass and blends and stuff like that. So in the last row, we started with a white, and the second one is a lemon yellow, which is a good primary yellow. The next one is called bright yellow, which I'm swatching now, and the next one I will be swatching is called permanent yellow. On the dried swatches here, I see a bigger difference between the bright yellow and the permanent yellow than I do on my small swatches in the box, because if you are using enough water, the permanent yellow and the bright yellow will look nearly identical again, and that is something, yeah, like all the other colors which are too close to each other, those two are as well. You need really, really a lot of color that the permanent yellow gets a lot darker than the other one. It can get a little bit on the slightly orangey kind of yellow in very thick mast tone, but most times I at least use them. I water it down more, and they look identical. So yeah, that's just to be known. And the next color is called orange yellow. At least this one really does look different to the other yellows prior to that one, because it is a lot more on the orangey side. Really looks like a light orange in mast tone, and even when watered down, it doesn't look lose that orangey kind of hue in it. Yeah, and if you're wondering what I'm doing in between with the brush and that piece of cloth I have here, I always use these kind of baby muslin cloth for my brushes, because they are super super soft and don't hurt the bristles. I can really recommend that. You can get a set of 5 on AliExpress when they're on sale for 2 or 3 euros, so they are rather cheap. But you can wash them and reuse them, and yeah, much better. Before that I've worked with paper towel stuff, and after a while you will get pieces of the paper towel on your brush, and then you have to pick it out of your painting, and sometimes you don't get it out very easily, and I was so unnerving. And I saw someone on YouTube using something similar, and then I thought, oh, we have those from the kids, so I try one of those, and never stopped using them ever since I started. Can totally recommend something like that, or old these muslin bigger. I don't know what they are called in English. In Germany, they are called cloth diapers, because way in the past they were used as diapers, but today you use them to put on your shoulder when you're try to burp your baby, and so that they don't you don't get any milk on your clothing. Like I said, I don't know what they're called in English. If you are watching this and know, please let me know. But yeah, that's the same kind of cloth in that they're just bigger than those. That is uh, kind of cloth type of size. So yeah, can totally recommend working with those. So the color just now was just plain orange, and this one here is called orange red, and that's the next color I have a problem with. Not because of the color per se, it reminds me a lot of PR 255 or a PR 108, which I use a lot in my skin coloration, but because the next color called vermilion looks nearly identical as well. So we have again two colors very similar to each other. So when I really count all of those colors which are too similar to each other, then I just have to. So at least 8 to 10 colors in this set are just identical another to one of the others. So if I've only counted for the browns, two of them, not all three, or only the additional ones. So you see, from the 50 colors, you are dropping much more to 40. So that is something a lot of those kind of sets have a problem with, especially when they're like 50 plus colors. So this color is called Scarlet Red. It's a beautiful red. And the last color they call alizarin red, which is also something like, it doesn't look at all like alizarin red, because it is a very dark red normally. And this one is a very light kind of red. I must say, I like this particular hue of the color. It's more so like a coral. Maybe if you would put white in a quin red, like a PR 209 or PR 207, or this PR 188. I know from Schminke they call it, I think, vermilion light. Vermilion light. That is very similar to the quin reds. When you are mixing one of those with a white, you could maybe get something similar, because to be honest, this particular shade, I think it is a beautiful color on its own, but of course it doesn't have anything to do with alizarin red, and it also contains a lot of white in it. So yeah, not something I would probably buy on its own. Yeah, so that was the Saemiart 50 pan set. I would really love to know if you have this or another Saemiart watercolor set, or at least another one of those very cheap, low quality watercolors. I would love to know your personal experiences with it, what are you using it for? Because maybe I get some new ideas from whatever you are doing with those colors. Um, in the summary of the whole video, I I mentioned it already, but if you ask me if I would buy this set again, it's a definitely no. If I would recommend you to buy this one, it's definitely a no. And if I would recommend that to beginner, it's a very, very loud no as well. So yeah, that's my personal honest opinion, because like I said, you can get better paints for the same price, or sometimes even a cheaper price than that. You may not have 40 or 50 different colors, but you don't need that many different colors to can do beautiful art. I started with a 12 pen set, and for many, many years I only have had those 12 different colors, so I had to mix everything I wanted with those colors, and it worked very, very well. So you don't need that much color. I know I'm one of those, I call it mixing lazy persons as well. If I have a color which I use a lot, and it contains like 3 or 4 pigments, then I'm happy to have it ready already. Um, like those dark turquoise here, what I already mentioned, ultramarine or phthalo blue and phthalo green in combination, for example, you get those already pre-made, and I have one tube of those as well, but I wouldn't buy that for myself again, because it is just 2 pigments, and that mostly is so damn easy to mix by yourself, and it is a waste of space, in my personal opinion, in my palettes. So that is something I wouldn't buy for myself again. And yeah, that is also something I think you don't need pre-made in a set per se. You could easily do something like that on your own, with even with no mixing experience. It is super, super easy to do. So don't be afraid to buy, for starting a smaller set, and start trying to mix up colors. Just play around with your colors, and you will find out some beautiful mixes, or watch some videos where people recommend what color is good to mix with other colors. I want to make videos about that as well, but we'll need some time to organize that. But yeah, there are so many easy to do mixes, that even I, as like I said, a mixing lazy person, uh, say I wouldn't buy a pre-made color like that again, um, because it's too easy to do yourself. Yeah, I hope that this video was helpful for you, and if you have any questions, just leave a comment. If you want to know what kind of sets I can recommend, I definitely want to make a video about that soon, as a starting, or even as a low budget version of high quality paints, like high quality student grade or high quality artist grade paints. But if you don't want to wait, just leave a comment below. Um, Ask me anything you want. I try to explain and answer everything as best as I can. And yeah, hope to see you soon. I would be super, super thankful, as always, for thumbs up or follow, because that helps me and the channel a lot to grow, and to be able to produce more of those videos, so that I try maybe shitty art supplies, so you don't go in the same trap like myself or like a lot of other people before, and you don't waste your money on products like that and only buy stuff which is really, really good in quality and even maybe for a very, very nice price as well. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I wish you a wonderful day and hope to see you soon. Take good care of yourself. Bye bye.